The Go Downs is back. Just 2 days away until it all starts. I got free agency predictions, tons of players in this video, and there's going to be another video after this, and then during free agency we'll be pumping out the grade videos, breaking down the signings, the contracts, etc. Exciting times. Let's get to the prediction. Let's start with Sam Darnold, the top free agent quarterback. I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks, just straight up Seattle, no other landing spots. Of course it's possible, but right when they traded Geno, I tweeted, so Darnold to Seattle, and that's really picking up steam. It really sounds like this could happen. Solid fit, Clint Kubiak type quarterback here for that West Coast offense. They're going to try to run a lot of play action to kind of open up everything else. It makes a lot of sense. Could DK Metcalf stay if Sam Darnold is the quarterback? Possibility. They need to build the offensive line up in front of them, though. Specifically, the interior offensive line. That was the Vikings' issue down the stretch as well, and that made Darnold go downhill in those big games. So they're going to build that up. I didn't know look to do that, but Darnold to Seattle is my current prediction. For Justin Fields, it is a battle. Close to 50-50 Steelers versus Jets. Most people saying the Steelers right now, which I could see because they want him back more than anyone, more than Russ or picking a new quarterback. They have money, so if they want all that, then they could have him, right? But he hasn't reached an agreement with the Steelers yet. He's looking to test free agency, and the Jets are expected to be interested. Is it going to come down to who pays the most money, or could he even take less from the Steelers, or could he even take less to go to the Jets because maybe he's a little salty that he was winning football games for the Steelers, and then they are predetermined they're putting Russ in, so they benched him and put Russ in. So could he go to the Jets? New staff, likable staff. They seem to like him a bit. I'm going to roll with that. Pretty close to 50-50. Could there be a sneaky team out there? I like the fit for the Saints and the Colts. Haven't heard anything currently about that, but a battle between New York and Pittsburgh. The top free agent of the class, Eagles defensive tackle Milton Williams. A long list of landing spots, and something to keep in mind for this video and the other prediction videos. I'm really trying to narrow it down, make a prediction. I'm not going to sit here and just list all the landing spots. I typically do fairly well, but it's really tough because you miss on one, it creates a domino effect. You miss on a bunch, and I know people get mad if I don't say their team a bunch. My goal really isn't to give every single team a free agent. I'm kind of just making these picks, making these fits, but I'm not going to be 100% right on everything. Your team will sign somebody. Don't worry. But Milton Williams, I'm going to go with the Patriots. I've been saying for some time, Patriots versus Panthers, and I am sticking with that. Early, like right when the offseason started, I was saying Patriots, Panthers, but Cardinals were a big team standing out, and they still are. Jonathan Gannon there. They're looking for defensive. They need defensive linemen. He could be looking for a familiar face that he coached in Philadelphia. Milton Williams played very well as a kind of a rotational piece that year. The Cardinals spent a lot on the defensive line, believe it or not, interior defensive line last year, and mediocre signings, and now they're looking at Roy Robertson Harris. So how much will they spend again? They very well could do it. I'm going to predict the Patriots again. Patriots versus Panthers. Patriots have a lot of spending money. People kind of make the mistake sometimes. The teams with the top money for this year, they're going to do the best free agency. It's not actually how it works. There's a lot of other factors, fits, future money, but there's a lot of good fits for the Patriots. I think they'll be highly interested in Milton Williams here, pairing him with Barmore. Barmore's ready to go. And they have a bit more leverage, I suppose, than the Carolina Panthers. But the Panthers are one to watch. They will most definitely be in on Milton Williams. And those two teams, this could, create a little bit of a domino effect here. The Patriots land Milton Williams. Who else are we watching for? We're going to talk about these other guys in the next video. Levi Onwuzurike, defensive tackle from the Lions. Tershawn Wharton from the Chiefs. So the team that misses on Milton Williams could end up with a guy like that. So we'll see. I'm really watching Patriots, Panthers. Again, the Cardinals. I keep hearing the Vikings are going to be in on Milton Williams. I've heard it time and time again. They need a pass rushing defensive tackle. My thing is, are they going to spend on Milton Williams as much as the Panthers would? Maybe as much as the Patriots would. I don't know. And I've heard the Packers recently, they're really focused on getting more pass rush help. They like some of the young edge guys they have. Maybe they add an interior player like Milton Williams. But I could sit here and list the Lions, the Steelers, the Chargers, maybe the Bears. It's tough to really narrow it down. But I've done that, and we'll see where he ends up. I'm really keeping an eye, once again, on the Patriots and the Panthers. Chris Godwin is becoming an interesting one because at first it felt like, yeah, he's going to go back to the Bucs. Hard to see him on anywhere else other than Tampa. And then when it comes out, they're trying to re-sign him. But the closer we get to free agency, we're only 2 days away. I mean, if he gets to free agency without a new deal from the Bucs, watch out for the New England Patriots. They're highly interested. It'd be a really good fit in what New England's trying to do. Pairing him with Drake May would be awesome. Of course, I could see other teams. Love the Broncos fit. Steelers, Rams even. Slot receiver. Premium slot receiver. So there's other teams that need a receiver, but not necessarily a slot receiver. But the Bucs, I'm still going to predict them to get him back. But again, if he gets the free agency, watch out for those Patriots. I think they'll outbid the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But actually on Godwin's contract, it's expired, but there's a void year on that deal. Bunch of dead money the Bucs would have to pay even if he is off the roster. So they sign him, they can push some of that money back. They can actually clear money by signing him to a big contract. A lot of leverage that Godwin has. The Buccaneers need to get him back. But again, if he gets to free agency, watch out for the Patriots and others. This should become interesting in these next couple days. The next best left tackle, Cam Robinson. I'm going to go with the Patriots. This whole offseason, I was predicting the Chiefs. I'm like, pair him with Jevon Taylor, 2 former Jags. Chiefs badly need a left tackle. They'll value Cam Robinson, even though he isn't the great. He's pretty solid, but he's not the greatest in the world. It's not a sexy signing, but man, he played well for the Jags, started to tail off a little bit. Everybody did for the Jags. People were getting hurt. Goes to the Vikings, plays pretty well, more so in the beginning rather than the end, but plays pretty well. Patriots, Doug Marrone's there, very familiar with each other, both former Jags. Doug Marrone's a really good offensive line coach. I'd watch out for that. I'm leaning with that. They're very desperate for left tackle. They have a ton of spending money. Look for the Patriots to go crazy in free agency, not just because they have the spending money, but several factors like we mentioned. But the Chiefs, I think, would be very much in on Cam Robinson. To me, it's a 50-50 battle. I have to mention the Commanders. What if the Ravens lose Ronnie Stanley? Do they go get Cam Robinson? Certainly possible. Bears, maybe. But the other teams I mentioned I like the most. I'm starting to lean with the Patriots. Drew Dalman, the Falcon center, the top center in the free agency class. And a lot of teams need a center. They all have different schemes, so this guy fits them, doesn't fit them, right? But I'm going to go with the Bears, which is an interesting one here. A lot of people are predicting the Bears right now. We've been linking those two together for a while. A lot of people have. But it's interesting because some people might go, really? They're spending $33.5 million on 2 guards, 2 interior players that they traded for. Are they really going to spend that much more on the interior on a guy like Dalman coming off an injury, even though he's good? So some people might question that. And yeah, if they do end up getting Dalman, I wonder what that total price range is going to be for all 3 of those guys. It's got to be the most expensive interior offense line in football. But it is a really good fit in Ben Johnson's offense. Like half the league really values centers and half the league doesn't. Ben Johnson will. We saw what the Lions did with Frank Ragnow. When he's on the field, he's one of the most talented centers in football. So they're going to value it. He is one of the guys that could be an overpay candidate. So you got to be careful with this one. I don't want him going anywhere near that Creed Humphrey level. He's solid, has upside, but he had 1 good year coming off an injury, so that's a tough part there. And the Bears already spent a lot in the interior, so they have to be careful here. I'm going to go with the Bears, but it was actually pretty close with a long list of other teams. I try to narrow it down. The Seattle Seahawks need interior offensive line. I think they're going to get Darnold. They're going to try to protect him up front, especially in the interior. Like I said, I think a pretty good fit in Clint Kubiak's offense, so I'd watch out for Seattle. We can flip the Bears in the Seahawks, and then that would flip them in another prediction that we're going to make for another center. Coming right up. Also, like the 49ers, it's a really good fit in Shanahan's offense. Will they value the position? That's the question. Recently, they have not. They used to. Recently, they have not. Some teams just believe, hey, I can get a guy in the 3rd, 4th round, get a guy that can snap the ball and stay in front of somebody that has super talented guys around him, and then boom, we are good. We don't need to spend a ton. So maybe them. Jags have an opening there. I don't love the fit. Man, the Giants could make some sense. The Raiders could use a center now, but they could move some guys around. The Chargers could use one. There's quite a few guys here. Quite a few. So I'm going to go with the Bears, kind of sticking with that. Almost tempted to change it after their spending spree with money and picks. Not like they gave up crazy picks. I'm going to keep it, but watch out for Seattle, maybe the Niners. And that brings us to another center, Josh Myers. Josh Myers hasn't been that impressive yet. He's actually been underwhelming, still a young center, could get better. The Packers typically make offensive linemen better. If you've been watching over the last several years, they know how to develop. They know how to make guys look better than maybe they actually are. They find random guys, and they do that. And Myers has been underwhelming. The Packers are going to go cheaper, unless they bring Myers back. They're going to go cheaper, and they'll probably get better. It's just what they do. So I have a hard time thinking he's actually going to be better somewhere else. I mean, look at Corey Linsley. I know he dealt with injuries, but he was an all-pro star center. A little bit different situation here. I've heard, because teams are desperate for centers, Josh Myers is going to get overpaid, and I am he's not high up in my free agency rankings list. So this one, be careful on this one. If you miss on Dalman, it might be those teams being very desperate. I actually have other centers, even though the league views him as the second best center. I actually have others that I think are better. We're going to talk about another one later in this video. But I'll go with Seattle. It's kind of a domino effect. The Bears get Dalman, Seahawks get Myers, or the Niners. I can see the Giants. They brought in Runyon from the Packers year before. If the Bears miss on Dalman, they probably get Myers. Like if the Bears do not get Dalman and he comes up the board first, my prediction is probably the Bears for Josh Myers. So that's why the predictions are so tough. The domino effect, the one pickup changes everything. But I'll go Seattle. I know they're going to be desperate for this, especially if they get a guy like Darnold. But there's some other teams to watch for. But man, I talked about the other teams that might need a center too. I've never seen so many teams that need a center. It's just which ones will actually value them super high. Some teams really just don't. Some teams do. We'll see. Jevon Holland, a top-tier safety in this free agency class, a top 3 free agent in general for me. This one becomes interesting. I've been talking about Jevon Holland for a bit. I mentioned at one point that, and it still is, a fit that makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside, the Minnesota Vikings. Brian Flores drafted Jevon Holland. He looked like a superstar year one. Hasn't quite looked like that yet. Vikings might need a safety, That makes a lot of sense. I haven't heard a lot about that. I'm going to keep him on there because the fit is so good. And recently, I've been talking about Jags versus Panthers, maybe Vikings. Jags versus Panthers. Titans, they need a free safety pretty badly. Perfect fit for Denard Wilson's defense. I heard they are interested. Watch for the Titans. But Jags versus Panthers, I'm a guy that likes to stick to my original gut kind of prediction. So that is kind of the reason I'm keeping the Jags. I heard this over a month ago. Watch out for the Jags and Holland. That went away. It went away. It's actually mainly the Panthers and Titans right now. But the Jags are supposed to spend on the secondary. Will they spend more at corner or safety? They'll spend on both. Corner or safety, though. Could be either or both. Same amount, whatever. I'm going to stick with that prediction, but the Panthers talk is heating up for the Carolina Panthers. So it could be a battle between them. But like I said, the Titans, and then just love the fit with the Vikings. So we have to mention them as well. But battle. We got a battle going on here. And it's this... I keep mentioning the kind of a domino effect. We're going to tell them in a second. I have a prediction for the Panthers in this position, but you could flip some of these guys. It could happen. We'll see who comes off the board first. Holland's going to get a lot of money. I think he should. It's risky because he hasn't played as well recently, but man, when you see a freaky athlete, playmaking, free safety that also can play in the box, get downhill and blitz, I mean, come on now. I think you should value him by a decent amount. Cam Bynum, the Vikings free safety, big-time playmaker. He has upside, too, and I say that because he was a corner coming out of California, turned to free safety. He's pretty good for a guy that just switched positions not too long ago. He also brings a level of energy to a team. He's the guy behind all the mastermind celebrations, and he's always got the defense playing together. So I think he boosts a team more than just with the talent and upside. I'm going to go with the Panthers here. I know I keep hearing it. The Panthers are going to spend at the free safety position. They're going to do it. They're trying to do it at edge and D tackle as well. But I really think the Panthers end up with Holland or Bynum. It could be Holland, like we said. If they get Holland, then who gets Bynum? The Vikings would like Bynum back, but they've been working on a contract extension for a long time. Before the season, then they quit for a while, and then once again. And I'm thinking the Vikings are maybe they're letting Darnold go. I think they're not going to spend as much on their own guy, possibly, so they can improve other areas like interior offensive line. So we'll see what they do there. But we'll talk about, I saved the corners for most of the corners for the next video. So guys like Byron Murphy and all those guys. But and then we mentioned the Jags and Titans. These are teams that I think are high on the free safety group. I really do. So those are the teams to watch. Of course, there could be a sneaky team like, I don't know, the Jets. I mean, multiple teams. But these are the teams that may spend big at the position. So Holland, Bynum, Holland. Right now, Holland, Jags, my original prediction, even though it's starting to fade away a little bit. Bynum, Panthers. Curious to see, like, I think the Panthers end up with Holland or Bynum. I'm pretty sure about that. Curious to see if, like, Titans get Holland, Panthers get Bynum. What the hell do the Jags do? Vikings, Flores would be fine, but, figuring something out. What the hell do the Jags do? Or if the Panthers get Holland and then Bynum goes, does he go to the Jags? Does he go back to the Vikings? Does he go to the Titans? And what does the other team do? So it's going to be pretty, because there's other good safeties, but there's a little bit of a drop-off. We'll talk about another free safety in this video. We'll talk about another strong safety. There's going to be some in the next video as well. Here's another free safety, Andre Cisco. This is a bit of a random prediction. Haven't heard anything about this at all. It's a little bit random. Sometimes I have those. Sometimes I have ones where I'm hearing things. Sometimes I have one where, yeah, that's a fit. In my opinion, it's such a great fit. It's going to happen. Sometimes there's like a big-time coaching connection or staff connection. This is a little random. There is a connection here. Actually, the more I'm talking, the more I'm realizing about it. Ryan Nielsen was with the Jags last year. He's got a small staff position with the Bills, so I don't really call it much of a connection there. But what I'm looking at here is the Bills tight on cap space now and the future because they're making a lot of signings, extensions, and they can free up space this year, but that's going to pile on more for next year. They still don't have a lot of room to spend huge money. They're still working on extending their own, but they badly they're bringing back their own in the front seven. They badly need safety help. They could use two safeties. I like Cole Bishop. He could be a guy for the future. They need someone to pair with them. Get a big-time playmaker that has upside in Andre Cisco could make some sense. He shouldn't be expensive. He shouldn't be overly expensive. It's a potential bargain steal of a signing, potentially. He's a little hot and cold, does miss some tackles, but he's a big-time playmaker in the back end. I'm going to go with the Bills. It feels like a complete random prediction by me. I'd watch out for the Giants. I think they could look for a safety, but they're not going to spend as much as the Jags, Panthers, and Titans. Again, if the Titans miss on these other guys, they can get a guy like Cisco. The Jets seems like they're in the same boat as the Giants. They might get a free safety or either spot safety because Aaron Glenn, Steve Wilkes going to value a little bit more, but they might not spend a ton. And I'd watch out for the Panthers. If they miss on Bynum and Holland, I think they can go for Cisco. But an interesting one here, not quite as good as the other free safeties we just talked about. Justin Reid, the safety of the Chiefs, still a big-time ball player. Almost feels like he's getting better. Familiar with that Chiefs man coverage scheme, knows how to get downhill, can make the one-on-one tackles, very good tackler. I just put one landing spot here. My prediction's been the Jets all offseason. I haven't heard anything about it. It's just I'm going to stick with it. There's not a long list of fits out there for me, of course, with any of these predictions. Any of these guys can go to a team I didn't even mention. And I actually love when that happens. It makes me entertained, right? It's like, whoa, that's awesome. So I kind of hope that happens for some surprising free agents here. But this is kind of what I've been feeling all offseason, so we'll roll with that. Nick Bolton, the Chiefs' young star linebacker, only 25 years old, already solid, already polished, rangy, blitz factor, upside. Chiefs want him back. We know that. And when they want guys back, when they actually truly want guys back, they typically get them back. But Zach Bond contract kind of jacked that up a little bit, and the fact that they haven't reached a deal with Bolton yet, and they've been trying. So he could be asking for a bit more than maybe what the Chiefs can pay because of that Zach Bond contract. Again, Bond's better. Bolton's only 25, 3 years younger than Bond. Got upside, could be asking for a lot. Watch out for the Titans. They need a middle linebacker. Really good fit. Chiefs assistant GM Mike Borgonzi is now the Titans GM. Watch out for them. The Broncos, they wanted Zach Bond. He's off the market. They can go for Bolton. I can see the Patriots. I can see the Bengals trying to narrow it down the whole time. These have been my favorite landing spots for Nick Bolton, so we're going to roll with it. Again, if he makes the free, this could be a similar one to Chris Godwin and Ronnie Stanley. Supposed to go back to their team, but the further we get in, once we get to free agency, the further we get into free agency, somebody else might pay more, and it might be the Tennessee Titans or Denver Broncos. Let's see. Josh Sweat, a top 5 free agent, the top pass rusher of free agency. Been very consistent, really good year, really good playoffs, really good Super Bowl. I have a long list of landing spots for Josh Sweat. I really tried to narrow it down. It's tough to leave some teams out, but I've been predicting the Cardinals for some time, so we're going to roll with that. Connection with Jonathan Gannon. I think the Cardinals Got to land one of the two or both of the Jonathan Gannon connection Eagles guys, Josh Sweat and or Milton Williams. I'm going to go with Josh Sweat. They need a damn veteran pass rusher. They've added some interior defense linemen. Are they good enough? Maybe, maybe not. But they need a veteran pass rusher. They don't have it. They don't have a good one. Aguilar got to come back next year. He's very young still, obviously. Nothing guaranteed there. Got hurt before this year even started. Sweat makes a lot of sense. They could afford to pay him. Patriots, I heard they're supposed to be in on Sweat. They could afford to outbid anybody. They can. The Titans, heard they could be in on him. And Tracy Rocker, the Eagles' old defensive line coach, is their connection there. Will the Titans spend this much on a veteran? They might want to keep it younger. The Bucs badly need a pass rusher. Man, if they got Josh Sweat, a team like that, already here, not anywhere over here, or if they get a pass rusher like that, and that gives them a big boost because that's what they're missing. They got to clear some space. They're worrying about Godwin right now. And the Bears, I heard they'll be in on pass rushers. Can they win a bidding war here? I don't see why not. They already spent a lot of money. They're looking to spend more on the offensive line. They have Montez Sweat. Not that they're related, but that would be quite the duo there in Chicago. But I can list the Packers. I can list the Lions. I can list the... Man, I can go down the Bengals. I can list the Chargers, Falcons. I could keep going with the Josh Sweat landing spot. So this one could be a surprise, but I have been feeling the Cardinals, so let's roll with it there. Malcolm Koonce, the Raiders pass rusher, young pass rusher with upside. Last time we saw him play 2 years ago, he had 8 sacks. He looked very solid, very promising. I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans. I was originally going with the Raiders. I've heard, I thought they would get him back to see what he's got. They missed him recently. And then I heard Pete Carroll say he's a guy we really want back. So I was going to predict the Raiders. Slight change, 50-50 for me here. I'll go with the Tennessee Titans. They need a pass rusher, but they moved on from Harold Landry, who's been pretty good for them. A little underwhelming since the injury, but been pretty good for them. But they want better than that. But they also are in a rebuild process, so they want to stay young at the same time. So Koonce kind of made sense in that category. I think a pretty good fit there. I'm going to go with Titans. Raiders, 50-50. Could see either. Bengals. The Bengals are the toughest team for me to predict this free agency for obvious reasons. They're so focused on their own guys right now. They need to get Chase an extension. I know he's already under contract. T. Higgins, they got to get him off the tag. They want a long-term deal. While he's on the tag, the $26+ million is the full cap charge. You can pay him $30 million a year, long-term deal. You can have less of a cap charge. And then the whole Trey Hendrickson situation. Do they trade him? Do they sign him? Because they want a premium pick. And then it's a question. They just signed Gesicki, but it's a question mark on how much they're spending now in the future on their own guys because they don't have it officially done yet. So how much can they actually spend on new guys? They could do it, but they don't really have it set yet, and that's very difficult, and it makes it difficult for me to predict where they'll go. They'll sign guys. They always are a little conservative, though, I feel. So we'll see. They're a tough one. They're looking for edge if they don't have Hendrickson, maybe either way. Interior defense line, right guard, corner maybe. They're looking for some guys. It's just they're very tough. A lot of teams are tough. I haven't heard anything about like some sneaky, like the Lions I haven't heard a lot about, even though they have some spending money, really good appealing spot, team. So we'll see. Some interesting teams here. Josh Palmer, a little bit of a random one, but I did hear Josh Palmer is actually thought of higher than fans and media think. That's all I've heard. I haven't heard any specific teams. I'm going to go with the Raiders. Raiders bring in Geno Smith. They badly need more receivers. They're going to look for a guy here and there. They might trade for DK. They might add Tyler Lockett. I think Josh Palmer makes sense as a guy. Let's get him in, and then we'll work from there. I think a really solid fit. I think he'd pair well with Geno. I don't know why. I kind of just feel him, and it's a little random. I feel him in that offense. I think that staff will like Palmer a bit. I'm going to go with that. Could see him landing on a number of teams. I'm going to go with the Packers. They're looking for a veteran receiver. I heard that they're going to be careful with the spending at the position, but they're looking for one. Could see the Steelers. I could see back to the Chargers. I could see, Panthers, Titans, Giants. You start with these receivers. So many teams are looking for receivers, and not enough good ones to go around. Hollywood Brown just got taken off the board. Did I mention the Patriots? I don't know. A long list of teams here. This is what I'm feeling for Josh Palmer. We'll talk about some more guys. Darius Slayton, a tricky one, a long list of landing spots. Still a young receiver. Could be better elsewhere. Had flashes with the Giants. Players play better elsewhere from the Giants recently. It's just how it is. I'm going to go Panthers. I've been saying the Panthers is a great fit all offseason, kind of what they don't have on the outside in terms of length plus speed. So I'm gonna go with the Panthers. I keep hearing they're gonna add a speedy receiver in free agency, not a specific one. And I've been saying Slayton, put those together, Panthers. But as we get closer to free agency, what I'm hearing is starting to tell me somewhere else, but I'm a guy that likes to stick with my original gut. That's the Panthers, but I've been hearing Chargers or Steelers. It's going to be Chargers or Steelers for Darius Slayton, so watch out for the Chargers and Steelers. To me, Chargers got to be focused on DK in that spot, so that's why I'm not going to predict them, but Chargers, Steelers, look out for them. And the Titans are going to be looking for speed at the receiver position as well, and then Slayton has a former receiver coach that is the Titans receiver coach. So I thought that was an interesting connection as well. Also could see the Patriots, but that's a little bit down the list for the Patriots and the Packers. A little bit down, like they want better, bigger guys first, like DK if they can get them. They want a sure thing. So I think they're going to have to miss on some other guys to be able to get Darius Slayton, but I could see those teams for sure. But we're going to roll with the prediction I have been saying, the fit I've been saying with the Panthers, but I keep hearing Chargers and Steelers, but we'll see. Stefon Diggs is pretty much a random, well, there's a connection there, but it's random in terms I haven't heard anything on Diggs. Teams might wait a little bit before signing him, a little bit of a diva, and he's coming off the ACL injury, so it's tough. What does he have left in the tank? I think he's got to be super talented. I go with the Giants. The reason I almost didn't do this is because Stefon Diggs, he wanted out from the Vikings because they weren't winning enough, and that team consistently wins even though they can't win a Super Bowl or championship football. But so will he be happy with the Giants of all teams? That's the only questionable thing here, but they could be adding a quarterback, whether it's Rodgers or whether it's Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders. Ward, I think, would be pretty appealing for Diggs. Maybe Rodgers would as well. I think appealing enough, but there's a connection there with Brian Daboll and Joe Shane from Buffalo. So I think that connection kind of what made sense. There's a connection in Dallas just because his brother plays corner there. Maybe that. I could see the Packers are looking to add a veteran receiver. I could see the Chargers. I could see the Commanders, even though they added Debo. That was actually going to be my prediction like a month ago before they added Debo. I was going to predict the Commanders for Diggs, but I think maybe they add a slot receiver. But Diggs can play the slot, plays equal both sides. So I could see the Commanders still. More I'm talking about, maybe it happened. They just stack it up with veteran receivers on top of Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel. That could happen. Watch for the Commanders as well. Keenan Allen, I'm going to go with the Broncos. Haven't heard anything about this, but this is one I've had being predicted in my back pocket for quite a bit. I love the fit. The Broncos need a slot receiver. Badly need a slot receiver for Bo Nix, a guy that is, underneath, quick, separated on underneath routes. Keenan Allen still has it. He was doing it for the Bears. He really got going at the end of the year. Quarterback play was a little inconsistent. The offensive line play was as well, so that didn't help Keenan Allen, but he still had it. Beginning of the year, a little slow, but man, I just love the fit for the Broncos, so I'm going to roll with that. I like the fit with the Commanders as well. They could use a slot receiver. The Steelers, I'd watch the Steelers as well. I could also see teams like the Rams, I've heard say, could he go back to the Bears? Sure. I've heard people say back to the Chargers, but Ladd McConkey plays the slot as well. These are two slot receivers. I don't know if I really see it. I think he's going to want a contender, somewhat of a contender. Maybe the Commanders might be the most appealing to him. I think the Broncos would be the most interested. Just something my gut was telling me since offseason started. Juwan Johnson, firm prediction here. I'm not going to guarantee it. Could he go somewhere else? A lot of teams need a tight end, but I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos. They need a tight end pretty badly. You got a pretty solid, still kind of young one here that has the Sean Payton connection in Juwan Johnson. So I think a lot of people, I'm assuming, are predicting this one. We're going to roll with it. Be pretty fun if he went somewhere else. J.K. Dobbins went off of the Chargers last year, but he did get hurt, and he does have major durability concerns. Last year, it felt like best case, only missing some games, but he's explosive. He's tough. He's a home run hitter. He's good. Watch out for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Recently heard that one. That sounds very interesting. They might be letting Najee Harris walk, and they might go J.K. Dobbins. Interesting. J.K. Dobbins is more explosive. I think Najee's just better. He's still very young, 1,000 yards every year. I think he's underrated. Getting a little bit better at catching the ball out of the backfield. They've been splitting a lot lately. He's way more durable. I think people are knocking Najee. I actually think his best football is ahead of him. But, if Dobbins can stay fully healthy, if he could stay fully healthy, I'd probably say Dobbins maybe. But he's explosive, and they do want to split. They're going to keep Warren, obviously, restricted free agent. So count on him being back, pairing those two together. I could see it. I've heard the Browns more than a month ago. Chargers could bring him back. Those are the three teams I'm looking for. Of course, there could be a sneaky team like the Raiders, the Vikings, the Cowboys, etc. watch out for those Steelers. We'll see. They actually could be fun here with different running back changes. But right now, we'll go Dobbins and the Steelers. And we'll send Najee Harris to the Chargers. Haven't heard anything about this one. We heard a little bit more about Dobbins, but if they let Dobbins walk, I know they liked him, but can they trust him to stay healthy? Najee Harris just feels like a hardball guy, like tough, physical, kind of old school with a little bit of new school vibes. Just feels like a Chargers running back, and they could grab a superstar running back in the draft, even back at 22, but it's no guarantee back there. I would predict the Raiders, but they might just grab Ashton Genty early, and if they don't, they'll probably grab one of those Ohio State backs in the second round for Chip Kelly. So I'm going to go with Chargers, like that fit. People are hating on Najee Harris, I feel like. And I don't use the hate. I hate when people say that, you're hating on this guy. I think Najee, is he like the flashiest back? I mean, sometimes he goes beast mode. I think he's better than people think. I don't know. I would like this for the Chargers. Watch out for the Vikings, too. It sounds like they want to get Aaron Jones back. Nothing happened yet. They still could. I'm going to put Aaron Jones in the next video because I'm 50-50 with two teams. I would like Najee. I'd spend a little bit more on Najee there. Cowboys could get Rico Dowdle back. Raiders, I would like to fit. We'll see. Sneaky one could be the Patriots. Sneaky one could be the Patriots and other teams. This should be fun. Will Fries, definitely the top guard available since Trey Smith has been taken off the board. Really solid, young upside, just coming off a little bit of an injury. I'm going to go with the Vikings. This one's a little bit tough to predict. I've heard a lot of teams be in on him. I feel like the Vikings are a little hesitant to pay their own guys, even though they still could. But I think that's because they're focusing on more important positions. The interior offensive line let them down a year ago, and their tackle duo is so good, even though Darius was injured. But Will Fries makes some sense for the Vikings to plug in at that right guard spot. They have some money. They might lose some of their own guys. They got to get someone like this, so I'm going to go with that. Seattle, again, they might end up with the Vikings quarterback, Sam Darnold. They could end up with Will Fries as well. I've heard the Cardinals and Giants are teams to watch. Also heard split opinions. The Giants could be hesitant to spend this much, how much he's going to cost. It shouldn't be too much, a bit of money, but for a young, solid guard. And I threw the Bengals in there as well. Like I said, the Bengals are tough to predict. They're already tough to predict because they're usually conservative, but they're dealing with their own guys right now, and they don't know. They cannot project their spending now in the future because of that. They're a little tough, but I could see them being very high on Will Fries. That's a pretty good fit. So if the Bengals things kind of get sorted out a little bit more, then boom, the Bengals might be a legit prediction for a guy like Will Fries or someone else that is pretty similar or specifically a right guard. Aaron Banks, the guard from the 49ers, has been a little underwhelming. He's still young with upside. He definitely could be solid. He was super good at Notre Dame, so teams got to view this guy as a pretty solid option, kind of going forward, even though, again, he may have been a little underwhelming. Niners do typically get the most out of offensive linemen, so if they don't want him back, I'm a little hesitant. I heard he could get a lot of money, like a massive overpay, like 16 to 18 million. That's crazy. So teams got to be careful. Some solid fits here. I like him in the left guard spot. I'm going to go with the Texans. They've cleared some money. Back and forth in the prediction. They've cleared some money. They could look to add Banks. Commanders make some sense as well. And the Dolphins. A lot of 49ers ties, actually, between the three of those teams, if you either coaches or GM. But they all could be looking for a left guard. It's just who's going to overpay for Banks. That is the question. Patrick McCarry, offensive lineman of the Ravens, very versatile. Like, is he super good? No, but he's filled in at pretty much any position across the offensive line for the Ravens. And the Giants will have some interest. They'll love his versatility. They can plug him in at guard if they need him to fill out like right tackle. If Andrew Thomas goes down, left tackle. Makes a lot of sense there, or, couldn't put it past him to play center if they need him to. But I like that right guard spot. But really anywhere on the offensive line, that's the beauty with him. Not the best offensive lineman in the world, but solid experience, coming from a good organization, versatile. Give me the Giants. Some teams that have some guys with Ravens backgrounds on them, Dolphins and Seahawks, both definitely could use him. I think he ends up on one of those three teams, but there's a lot of other teams that could use an offensive lineman. Tevin Jenkins, love the fit with the Patriots. Again, the Patriots have some good fits in free agency. They have a lot of spending money at the same time. They're supposed to be pretty active. This makes a lot of sense. Plug him in at that left guard spot. Keep Onwenu at right guard. Again, makes some sense there. Jenkins is a pretty decent tackle prospect coming out of Oklahoma State. Some injuries kind of held him back. When he's on the field, he looks pretty decent. That's given with the Bears' kind of dysfunctional offensive line situation. So he's a guy, if he stays healthy, He definitely has his best football ahead of him. Has some upside here. He could be a very sneaky pickup. I love the fit with the Patriots, but Commanders make some sense. The Ravens brought back Ronnie Stanley just a second ago as I was recording this. I actually like that fit for them. If they're a little tight on cap space, so it's going to depend on how much, I guess, Jenkins is going to cost, but I really do like the fit with the New England Patriots. Jamien Sherwood, stud young linebacker from the Jets. I heard the Jets are working to bring him back. Could happen at any time. I'm going to stick with my original prediction, the Falcons. Falcons brought in Jets defensive coordinator and interim coach Jeff Ulbrich. They need another linebacker that fits his defense. Makes some sense. They can clear a little bit of space. They're going to have to do that, but it makes some sense there. But like I said, it's pretty even here. Falcons, Jets, even Niners. The Niners could let Dre Greenlaw walk. They could bring in Sherwood. You know he could fit Robert Saleh's defense. Pair him with Fred Warner, the best linebacker in football. Makes a lot of sense. One of those teams. The Rams are interesting. They don't value linebacker. They do not value linebacker, but maybe they start. Look at the Eagles. Did not value it. They started. They got Zach Bond. Signed into a big deal now. It helped. Zach Bond helped them in a Super Bowl. So maybe they do it in the post-Raheem Morris era. We're about to go in year 2. The defense looked pretty solid. They actually started mixing up coverages and everything. So they could be a little see. The Rams, I'm not hearing anything about the Rams right now. I predicted them to get Devontae Adams in the free agency cut video that I did 2 videos ago or so. They'll make moves. I just am not hearing anything about the Rams right now. So could they be sneaky at linebacker? Probably not. They don't value it, but maybe. I think it'd be a pretty good fit. But I'm gonna go with the Falcons. Jalen Moore, 49ers tackle, got some reps in place of Trent Williams. Learn from Trent Williams. I think he's got some upside. I'll go with the Dolphins. Maybe not huge spenders. Moore's not a big time free agent, but he's got upside. They need a tackle. Patrick Paul, Austin Jackson, because there's a lot of questions there. Like, are these guys the starters? Do we need a new starter? They could draft the guy as well. I do like the Commanders. I think he'll end up on one of these teams unless somebody else misses. Patriots and Chiefs, if they miss on a bunch of other guys at left tackle, they can go for Jalen Moore, and that kind of screws these teams, a team like the Dolphins over, because they'll, a team like the Patriots will outbid them. But I do like these fits for a smaller, some of these smaller free agency random predictions. They're a lot tougher, but we'll see what happens here. Robert Hainsey, a very underrated free agent, versatile free agent. He can play any spot in the offensive line. I wouldn't love if he's in at tackle, but he could do it. But I like him at center, could fill in at guard if you need him to. I'm just going to predict the Jags, reuniting with Liam Cohen. Jags need a center. Mitch Morse retired. He only played for the Jags for 1 year. There's guys like Dalman, you can question the fit. Is it a scheme fit for Liam Cohen's blocking scheme, his offense? Hainsey's a fit. Familiar with them, obviously. But I would rather have, he's a sleeper. He's going to be cheaper, too. I would rather have him than a guy like Josh Myers, who's going to cost way more. So I like this fit. Could go elsewhere, too. Could go with the Chargers, Giants, Packers. If they need a replacement for Myers, I could see it. I just kind of feeling the Jags connection, Liam Cohen connection prediction here. And another random one that I've been saying for a bit, I just love the fit with Brandon Stevens, the Ravens corner with the Colts. Young corner, got some experience. He switched from offense to defense in college, and when he came out, you're questioning, is he a corner, is he a safety? The Ravens finally decided on a spot, and now he gets some experience. Not the best all the time, but I think he's raw. I think he's got great upside. Just really good fit for Lou Anarumo's defense. The Colts kind of staying young, but kind of getting better here at the same time. That's a fit that I just really liked. I liked since the start of the offseason. And here's a list of notable guys that I currently have going back to their teams. There's going to be another video with more big-time free agents. So if you didn't see a free agent that is big-time or pretty good or decent, they're probably in the next video. I did another video with the cut free agents, guys that got cut, Devontae Adams, etc. But more of these to come. Rasul Douglas, pretty solid zone corner. It could go back to the Bills, watch for the Falcons, watch for the Packers. Mari Cooper, I think, goes back to the Bills. You can watch for the Packers with that one as well. The Cowboys, I think, get their guys back there. DeMarcus Lawrence, maybe a close call between the Cowboys and the Commanders. Dan Quinn there. Kevin Zeitler could go back to the Lions. They could go with Mahogany, who I like. Just one more year with Zeitler makes some sense there. Again, the Lions are quiet right now with everything I'm hearing. Who are they going to get? They're going to get somebody. They're tough to predict right now. We will see. Elijah Moore, pretty good slot receiver, could end up back with the Browns. Ernest Jones, Seahawks. Spillane back with the Raiders. Commanders get some of their guys back. We have Robert Spillane listed twice. Graphics guy. Nice job. The graphics before this slide, A+. This one, we can't list Spillane twice, and they're not even next to each other either, so I don't know what happened there. Morgan Moses and Tyler Conklin going back to the Jets. A little bit more confident about Moses than Conklin, but I think both. Ryan Kelly a little bit up in the air. I'd say go back to the Colts just because it's one of those guys. It's hard to see him not retiring a Colt, but does want to win. And there's a lot of teams that are pretty desperate for center. So if a team misses out on Dalman or Myers or whoever, do they, hey, Kelly, we're going to pay you more than the Colts are going to pay you, and we're going to get you. It's definitely possible, but some guys I got going back, including Spillane twice to the Raiders. It'd be pretty bad if he doesn't go back to the Raiders. Graphics guy's really going to screw me then. So, but another video like this coming with a lot more free agents. We talked about a ton in this video. A lot of videos on the channel covering free agency, the trades, the draft. Once free agency starts, we're going to be rapid fire grading all, in separate videos. Well, a chunk of signings in different videos, the grades of the contracts, the signings. Repeating myself like crazy. Join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on. It's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.